Okay, so here we are again. Welcome to the closing session of this URCC conference. After two intense days with were packed of interesting presentations and very nice discussions. Here we are finally to the closing plenary session of the URCC conference. For the ones who don't know me, this is Marc Velasco from Aquatech Suez, coordinator of the RESCUE project and co-chair of this conference. And well, very briefly, I will introduce the session, and then we can move to the panel of speakers that we have here. As I said, for the last 2 days, the Urban Resilience in a Context of Climate Change conference tried to provide a space to facilitate dialogue among diverse range of actors from academia, governments, businesses, communities, on the multiple aspects of urban resilience and climate change. During these 2 days, the key challenges and solutions for cities have been presented and discussed, while promoting the communication and knowledge exchange between researchers, policymakers, and practitioners in order to find integrated solutions and inspire action. In this closing plenary, we will take advantage of the expertise and views of some of URCC delegates, including presenters, session conveners, attendees, etc. So people that you have already seen during these last 2 days. And with this, we aim to capture all the debates and points of view that occurred during the conference. In this context, the roundtable discussion will be carried out, mainly focusing on the next steps related to urban resilience, discussing future goals and challenges to overcome. The format of the session will be like this. First of all, the 5 speakers will briefly present their points of view on the issue, stating the future key challenges according to them. And after these initial presentations, we will then move to a roundtable with the whole panel. So we invite the audience, we invite you to post your questions on the Q&A tab that you have on the URCC conference platform on the Meet Maps. Okay, so please post your questions there. And when sending your questions, if they are directed at someone, please specify it so it's easier for us to moderate the session. Okay, so after this introduction, we can start with the session. We will move on to the first speaker. It will be Youssef Diab, which is a professor of urban sustainable planning in the University Gustave Eiffel in France. He is also the scientific director of the EIVP, the École des Ingénieurs de la Ville de Paris, dedicated the urban and municipal engineering. He is collaborating with urban utilities, companies, and international donors, especially in developing countries of the Mediterranean Basin, Arab countries, and Asia. So, Youssef, whenever you want, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Marc. Hi, everybody. First of all, I'd like to thank Marc and the team of Suez Spain for the exceptional management they did for RESCUE and for the conference also. And I say hi to my colleagues from Bristol, from Exeter, Lisboa, Barcelona, etc. My souvenir to Barcelona go to 2008 when I came first time, and Barcelona was already one of the best places to do research and implementation of resilience strategies. I had a nice discussion at this time with the city of Barcelona. I remember very well. I didn't see him for a long time, with Manuel Valdés, with Ignasi Fontanals, with a lot of people from the city. And now I'm happy to see Ares with us today. So it's very good to see that there's a continuity. And the RESCUE for me, it's the embodiment of this initiative law in Barcelona. So it's always good, even by video conference, to talk with people from Barcelona to see how the city is still dynamic on the resilience, urban resilience issues, and the climate change in general also. The cooperation between the stakeholders and the private sectors, the universities, the startups, etc., in Barcelona is unique. When I see things from Paris, it's very hard for us to work all together. I am an academy in the university and also close to the city of Paris, but sometimes it's very hard for us to exchange on these issues. I am very happy to see how Barcelona is doing this, and what the experience of Barcelona is good to be transferred to other EU countries and EU cities. Regarding your question, Mark, about what's very important for the next steps, I think what was achieved by RESCUE is very important in kind of the modeling of networks. Networks are our key element of research for us. So it's important to continue this research on the networks, on the urban systems by specific thematic, but also to continue to work on these interdependencies and these cascading effects. Interdependency, we are seeing it in many issues, for not only for resilience, but also for in general for sustainability. At this time, we are working about this concept of urban nexus. This urban nexus is very important in a relation between maybe probably sustainability and resilience. What is first, resilience or sustainability? I cannot answer to this question. It's a question for us for the next 20, 30 years. And also the question of modeling. I'm engineer. I think that we still have a lot of work to do on the modeling issues and on the integration of this modeling results in the early warning system. So you see, I am not defining any priority for the next steps to go forward, but it's very important that to see that we have a lot of things to talk about, to exchange about, and the complementarities between the cities and the researcher is crucial for us. And also about the topics, we have a lot of things to do. For example, we in Paris, we are concerned mainly by floodings, but I think that the urban heat islands, I had many exchanges a long time ago with the people from Barcelona. This is something to be considered seriously. So all these phenomena related to climate change are crucial. So this is my first comment, and I can give more details later if I have time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Youssef, and also thank you for keeping it short and keeping it on time. So then we have more time for the discussions. We will now move to the second panelist of the session. It is Ares Gabàs, who has been the head of the Resilience Department, which is under the Infrastructures and Urban Coordination Management of the Barcelona City Council since November 2013. She is currently responsible for the development of the resilience strategy and project implementation carried out through the resilience boards. She has a background in architecture and public space design, and she has been working for the Municipality of Barcelona since 2006. So, Ares, thank you very much for being here. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Marc. Well, if we're speaking about challenges of urban resilience, I think that on the one hand, and maybe the most challenging thing of it is uncertainty, is the uncertainty that is linked or related with risk management. And how, because risk management also determines and influences city design and development. And we have a recent good example on this with the pandemic. Nobody really did foresee it. Actually, the survey that each year the World Economic Forum publishes on the global risk report, it was there. It was something that could happen, but it was rated as highly impactful, as we've seen, but on the range of the unlikely risk. And here we are rearranging and reshaping our cities in order to respond to that. But on the other hand, there are other risks that we already have identified because well, they are current and future risks, such as climate change. And we mustn't forget about that. In the case of Barcelona, actually, it's one of the top priority issues of the city, both in terms of mitigation and adaptation, and it's both an urgent and a necessary matter. Actually, we have early this year, we declared the climate emergency in the city. So to me, sometimes, I mean, the question arises whether what we need to prioritize, what our cities need to do to shape our futures and rearrange our infrastructures or services or public space for the immediate response, for instance, the COVID, or future challenges, maybe now less pressing risks like climate change. Well, the way I see it, there is no such a dichotomy between these recent impacts and the chronic stresses. So between what is urgent and what is necessary, because if we don't tackle the chronic stresses, maybe now less pressing, this will mean that probably we will have bigger and maybe reversible problems in the futures. And in most cases, they entail structural reforms. And we also forget about them. I mean, the urgent mustn't push behind the agendas, these structural reforms, because ultimately this may become lost opportunities. And finally, I think our resilient cities, and resilient city actually means resilient to whatever. So we must be proactive and anticipate and prepare better for actually anything, because and this ultimately means that we must become stronger and improve the living conditions of the cities. And what we need for that is usually clear. I mean, a sufficient green infrastructure or a solid public transportation systems are things we for sure are going to need and are key for the city functioning. So summing up, I think that we mustn't get carried away by the immediacy. Of course, we need to respond, but this response has to be resilient, also in a sense that it can go against sustainable development and it cannot compromise our future.
Okay, thank you very much, Ares. Definitely what you said leaves some room for discussion later. This thing about the urgent and important, this is something that Esteban already mentioned yesterday during the opening session, which is something very, very critical. And also another of the speakers of the opening session talked about, Juan Francisco Arrazola, he talked about how the COVID has kind of completely overwhelmed all the other issues, and when comparing the Google searches from COVID versus the climate change, it seems that there is a huge difference. So this is something that we will keep exploring later on the roundtable. Thank you, Ares. I will move to the next speaker. It's Lorenzo Chelleri, who is the chair of the Urban Resilience Research Network and director of the International Master Degree in City Resilience Design and Management at the International University of Catalonia, the UIC in Barcelona. And with a background in urban and regional planning and a PhD in urban geography, his research currently focuses on the interplay between urban sustainability and resilience. Lorenzo, we're very happy to have you here. Whenever you want, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Marc. Actually, thank you for inviting me to this plenary and to this conference, which was so rich and multidisciplinary, which makes challenging to draw some conclusion or statement about urban resilience. But I'll try, and I have actually one key message, which is building on what Ares was introducing. And I see it's a bit in line on with what is being discussed through this whole year, not just on this conference. Last week we were on the second Building Disaster Resilience Conference in Turkey, and now we're here about urban resilience and climate change, meaning that there are different disciplines trying to define the challenges and the meaning of urban resilience, which is something beyond climate, beyond disaster, beyond, and so trying to make a reflection on the meaning and evolution of urban resilience, because maybe the hypothesis justifying the need of this statement is that from the research, at least, there is a need and a lack of longitudinal case studies to understand the evolution of resilience, right? It was a concept which was rooted in the context and in the different challenges, and thus driven by risks prioritization, Recent challenges were about how to better align climate change adaptation rather than mitigation, or jumping from risk prioritization to, as Ara just said, embracing uncertainty, but how you do that. And so I guess that how to do that, we missed the stimulus, right? It was like sustainability. You need to do that, but you don't know how, because there's something always more urgent to do. And I guess that now the trigger to do that has been COVID, which is the key priority now. And around the globe, most of the urban resilience discourses has been suddenly running into COVID and then trying to align with the resilience of green infrastructure. And what I've seen these days has been a lot of useful and much needed modelings and network and how to embrace social justice, but bring inside green infrastructure, or so trying to make sense of this multidisciplinary and what is the better way of aligning things. What I would like to share here is maybe insight look into all these presentations and thinking about urban resilience is that what I'm seeing through the COVID emergency is that this trigger, which is COVID, what it's doing is basically changing the exposure to all our understanding of what a city is. Because we are here with RS, or could be inviting other policymakers in metropolitan level or regional level, and what you're experiencing is that people is living beyond what special land use planning was saying, where you work, where you live, where you buy, and how to move, and that was the city. And then the urban system followed some pattern which were quite clear, right? And now what COVID is doing is changing completely all this pattern. People leaving the city center, leaving the offices, leaving business districts, and these new lifestyles under the individual or group adaptations to COVID, or let's say individual resilience or community resilience, imply such a territorial reframing of which are, you know, which is the mobility, which are the lean changes and lifestyles. And so what I'm seeing is that everything is becoming more complex because embracing a changing in lifestyle, and thus in the services we demand for in different locations where there was no this demand. And thus the key thing that I see urban resilience have to move through is better understanding this across scale dimension and the exposure that are left behind and the new exposure to new risks that are created. And thus at the same time, I see that resilience is broadening its scope, of course, and becoming more complex and embracing this special scale perspective, making the city center administration really needed to go beyond the boundaries, not just at, you know, intermunicipally or transmunicipal parts, beyond metropolitan level. And this is the key challenge that I see. So while it's broadening the scope, resilience is getting focused only to COVID, but by doing that, it's opening the challenge of how to better coordinate and understand, I would say, territorial dynamics. That's my key, I guess, reflection, thinking about urban resilience beyond just climate or disaster that we need to embrace.
Okay, thank you, Lorenzo. While you were speaking, I was taking notes of a few things that you were saying. So the last thing that you discussed about territorial dynamics, so that the risks that we face, they do not know about boundaries or municipalities or something like that. So this is something very interesting that probably will go back to it. And also you talk about uncertainty and how do we embrace uncertainty and how we manage this uncertainty, and something also very important, which is how we communicate, because I mean many of us are scientists or technicians, and we know that all these things that we do, modeling, etc., it has some uncertainties implied, but the general public sometimes is a little bit unaware of all this, and being able to communicate this is not an easy task, and probably this is something also food for thought later on. Thank you, Lorenzo. I will move to the next presenter. It's Rita Salgado Brito, who is an assistant researcher in the Portuguese National Laboratory for Civil Engineering, the LENEC. She is a PhD in civil engineering and has more than 20 years of experience in infrastructure, asset management, urban drainage systems, monitoring of hydraulic and water quality parameters, hydraulic modeling of drainage systems, and condition assessment. Currently, she is the chair of the IWA Strategic Asset Management Specialist Group. So Rita, whenever you want. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Marc. Thank you. First, I would like to congratulate the organization and acknowledge the very interesting presentations that I was able to attend. Not all of them, of course, but they kind of inspired me for this, what I'm going to tell you now. So when Marc challenged us to identify the main challenges that we could see in this topic in resilient cities facing climate change, I took a lot of ideas from what I was watching these 2 days. So as a first idea, we see some people saying that we have lack of data or we don't have enough data. But on the other hand, we have people saying we have too much data, or sometimes it is not, it is dispersed, it is not fit for purpose, or it is not integrated. So I think we're moving from one stage to the other when we have no data or not very interesting data to having a lot of it. So we had some presentations on how to use innovative technologies and data intelligence to move forward and to take the best of the data that we are already collecting. So we also got some advice from the newcomers, people that are starting, that be aware of not collecting any kind of data that you can imagine, but first think a little bit about the fit for purpose of the data that you are collecting. Then also the question of the uncertainty that Aris mentioned, and Lorenzo also, how do we deal with the uncertainty that we have in this field of research and in our applications? And we had someone saying in the first day that when it comes to knowledge, we have those things that we know, the things that we don't know, and the things that we don't know. I'm not sure who said that, but I think it really reflects on what we have to face today. So we have to prepare for what we know, and also for those things that we imagine that might occur. So our uncertainty. And we had some examples in this couple of days of how to incorporate this uncertainty in your plans, how to be sure that the solutions, the strategies that you are going to choose and implement are flexible, so they are not static, they can adapt to this uncertainty that you are sure that you are going to have. And also a very important idea that you have to make systematic reviews of your decisions. So what you decide today, facing taking into consideration what you know today, might change tomorrow. And as all of you have already said, we have the COVID experience to show us that very clearly. So we need to have flexible solutions, and we need to systematically review what we have decided. Then another issue that came up on several communications was that we have lack of resources to do everything that we wanted to do. So we don't have all the money that we wanted, and we need to decide on what to implement first. And for that, I think we have a general idea in many presentations here, is that we cannot tackle this challenge of making our cities more resilient. We cannot tackle that alone. We need to embed our solutions in the urban planning. So we cannot just have a team of engineers doing what they think is best. We need to talk with the architects, and when we had a lot of them here in this conference, we need to talk with the social actors. We need to talk to the politicians. So we need to embed the solutions that we think improve our resilience into the solutions that others are already thinking to implement in the city. And also, there was a very striking idea, is that we need to defend the co-benefits of the solutions that we are thinking about implementing. So if we are doing something to control flooding, we need to sell our ideas, and we need to sell them to the citizen, and we need to sell them to the politicians, and we need to sell them to anyone that needs the city to survive, which is all of us, right? So we need to present very clearly the co-benefits. For instance, the CO2 sequestration, if you implement a nature-based solution, the fact that you have more shading if you have a green area, the social and mental health benefits. So if we sell that, and if we convince others that this is a quick win that you can get when you implement these solutions, maybe they will be more eager to learn about it and to implement it. The last idea that I got from the presentations that is a challenge that we need to face is the lack of political commitment. So we need to convince our politicians that this is an emergency, this is happening today. So we cannot wait to see what is going to happen in the next 10 years. No, we need to do something now. And convincing them is a difficult task. And as Marc was saying, we need to leave behind our engineer way of talking, and we need to address their concerns. So we need to know what are their political objectives for the city, and we need to pinpoint how our solutions are going to contribute to their objectives. And if we do that, that's the first quick win that we can get. Also, on another way of doing this is to raise social awareness, because the voters are a very important way of influencing the political decisions. So if we have the voters, the citizens on our side, if they know what we are talking about, then they can pressure the politicians. From more of the technical side, what can we do to press the politicians, or maybe not to press, but to show them the benefits of doing what we are proposing? We had some ideas on you can only believe sometimes what you really see. So if we have case pilots of a nature-based solution close to our city, and we can show the politicians how it works and what can they get from that solution, showing them a case pilot is a very easy way maybe to illustrate what we are talking about. So these are the main challenges that I got from our conference here. And then I got another one, a more transversal one, which was many of us here work in the academia. And I think the next step is to move from the academic street to the main street. So we need to get the word out. We need to get it out of our secretaries and our models and our very difficult procedures, and get it out onto the street. So the next challenge is to implement whatever it is that you are planning for. So put it on the fields and try to make it give the results that you expect. Of course, there is a job for us, for all of us, when these things start to be implemented, which is we need to monitor whatever it is that we put on the field. This is our job. So we need to acknowledge the effectiveness of what we are proposing. And we need to do that because we had lack of data, or data that was not so fit for purpose. We had lack of resources, so probably we did not choose the best option because we did not have the money to do it. We have the uncertainty, and we had to plan for whatever a scenario it was, knowing that we have some uncertainty. And we might be faced with some unexpected cascading effects that we were not seeing at first. So I would say that the next goals are to implement. We need results. We need to see the results. And then we need to be aware that we need to monitor whatever we do, and every now and then rethink what we have decided.
Okay.
Thank you, Marc.
Thank you, Rita. Quite a lot of things. I mean, you talk a lot about implementation and also some things that are lacking, like resources, for example. I think that what you said about the lack of resources, that the thing that we have a limited amount of money to implement solutions, and the need for prioritization, this is something very important, together with the fact that we have uncertainties, that we have to communicate these things to the society, to politicians, etc. This is something very interesting. Thank you, Rita. Now let's move to the last presentation of this part of the discussion. Our next presenter is Ángel Villanueva. He's a civil engineer, director of the Urban Water Department in Aquatech Suez, and he's specialized in hydraulics and infrastructure. He has led hydraulics projects focusing on water production and distribution systems, wastewater and drainage sewer systems, rivers and rural catchments, and also some about irrigation and regulation basins. Ángel, whenever you want, the floor is yours.
Do you hear me? Yes, hello,
Yes,
Marc,
please.
and everyone, good afternoon. So yes, I wanted to start recalling two sentences I've heard during these 2 days. The first, I think it's from Esteban. He said something like, climate change has come here to stay for a long time. I would say forever, perhaps. And the second sentence, I don't know who said it. Someone said that resilience is a very large concept. And yes, I completely agree. Let me give you an example. I belong to the Suez Group, which is strongly compromised with the environment and the society it serves. But even inside our group, which is quite focused in a single area, which is water, this resilience concept is seen under different angles. For example, for the operational branch, which was represented by Maria Salamero yesterday in the opening session, resilience means the commitment to guarantee service continuity despite increasing risks, climatic or operational risks. And this is the core of our business, yes. But for us, for the research and consulting branch that Aquatech represents and I myself represent, resilience also means an opportunity to build new services to enlarge our portfolio of solutions. So I want to describe, in fact, which has been our pathway with resilience. First, we face it as a field through research in many aspects, but mainly those topics we were familiar with, for instance, flooding or pollution of receiving water. But then we realized that interdependencies and cascading effects were present everywhere between urban services. So we found ourselves developing new approaches in top of our traditional business. For instance, making hydraulic master plans evolve from hazard approach, water levels and water speeds, to a risk-based approach, damage and cost. So moving the focus from water to citizens, as it has to be. Then our traditional customers, municipalities mainly, asked for a holistic approach to city resilience. So we found ourselves delivering resilience assessments and resilience action plans. So the know-how that was generated or consolidated through this RESCCUE project was conveniently shaped into new services that have already reached the market. We have put a significant effort on it because these make us closer to our customers, or to the customer needs, of course, and why not a step ahead of our competitors. So although our mother company has soon understood that resilience and climate change were levers to grow and to grow in the right direction. That is the reason why our resilience and climate change department has been created in our firm to deliver these new services while keeping an eye on the group strategy in that field. And yes, and then while we were all focused in climate-related issues, COVID-19 pandemic suddenly appeared. Okay, it's not really a climatic issue, but it is, and it will be for a long while, a great challenge to test our level of resilience, because COVID-19 pandemic is a dramatic case of resilience. So we suddenly realized that in the future, we'll have to deal not only with climate change, but with any kind of change. And in this new context, water companies like ours have reacted in a very agile way, I would say. Fortunately, digitalization and remote work was already present in our daily routine. So we had very few problems when we were all sent home to work. But our two big concerns at the beginning of the COVID-19 crisis were to guarantee the delivery of safe water without a reduction in service quality, and this, we think we got it. And the other concern was safety of our field staff who's dealing with wastewater. Once these two items were secured, we went a step ahead. We asked ourselves, hey, how can we help our fellow citizens and our health authorities to fight against this pandemic? And so in less than 2 months, we created inside my department a new service, which is called the COVID-19 City Sentinel. It's a service to make surveillance of SARS-CoV-2 virus presence in wastewater as an early indicator of outbreaks and prevalence of the pandemic. And it works. Right now, we are covering almost 11 million people in Spain. And this is also a resilience-related service, even if it's not really climate related. And this is an example of how we private utilities have to react when there is a real big problem, and climate change is, because we have to be useful to public authorities and useful to society. And for doing so, we have to be quick, we have to be proactive, and we have to be generous in our commitment. And in fact, this is all I wanted to say, but commitment with society to deliver the best of us being a private utility. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you, Marc.
Thank you, Ángel. Well, you talk about a few interesting things. In particular, I think that you talk about the response to COVID and how for a private service operator like you, it was key of continuity of services to keep providing the service. Of course, guaranteeing the safety of the personnel, but still this is something very, very interesting, and also the advantage to, well, the new opportunities that this catastrophic event provided. Oops, sorry, I got muted. So the opportunities that were taken by developing a new service is taking into advantage these problems. Thank you, Ángel. I will move now to an initial round of questions. I would like to start with Lorenzo for a specific question about training. I mean, Lorenzo, as I said before, he's in charge of an international master about urban resilience, and I was wondering, Lorenzo, what do you think that we should change, or how is training of the new urban experts evolving in the future? I mean, there are new technologies, there are new challenges. Of course, a master degree about urban resilience is something very, very new. So what is the future of training going to be like?
Thanks, Marc. Yeah, I cannot say what the future will be like, but the challenges in education and training is, of course, in relation to what we already said, which is communication issue. And as Ángel now was pointing out, so because resilience is both about delivery, services, governance, individual adaptation, and so any within the adaptation sphere, and academia usually set and framed in silos. And as we see here, engineers, architects, and social scientists have a different understanding of resilience. What we are facing in through the urban resilience education programs is actually how to decide how much weight to put in each discipline, which key message, because at the end, the aim is establishing bridges and better communication, right? The translating all the models and economic dimension and perspective from economists about the urban system, bridging with engineers, bridging with design, bridging. And it's not possible, definitely, to bridge all these many disciplines within short programs. But at the same time, it's very difficult to grasp implementation, so to not be so theoretical, right? And like background knowledge building in short pills. And so I guess that the challenge about urban resilience education is this one: try to not just be multidisciplinary, but try to get transdisciplinary. I mean, we'll work through the disciplines, tackling in collaboration with who is on the field, politicians, engineers, companies, try to tackle specific things about resilience and trying to feed that in a multidisciplinary environment, right? Through a collaboration between different disciplines. I guess that this is the real challenge. Okay. Get those new environments to teach more acceptive education, maybe.
Okay. To keep on the track of education and training, maybe I would like to do a follow-up question to Youssef Diab, because as you know, Youssef, he's been working in the EIVP, which is actually a kind of different model of university, because it's a university that is also part of the municipality. So what is the case, Youssef, in the EIVP university where you belong? So how can municipalities and universities work together to increase urban resilience? So what's your experience on that?
Yeah, thanks, Mark. I agree totally with what was said by Lorenzo about this need of cross-disciplinary approaches. And this is one of the hardest issues for city management. It's not only for resilience. When you talk about sustainability, you have these issues also. So it's hard sometimes to find the programs dedicated to the resilience in universities and in engineering graduate schools even. So what I'd like to say about this, that first of all, we have to clarify the meaning of the resilience and the resilience engineering for the people coming to this field. What is it exactly? What we are talking about? Is it something related to sustainability? Is it something related to geography, to urban planning, to urban engineering? This word, we use it very often in France. It's not commonly used in English, but it's mean urban systems, you mean. So when you go to United States, you can find a lot of cross-disciplinary courses, not diploma, not program, which is very, very different. What I'd like to say about this is that also our role is to go in details in what was said by Rita, that about the issue related to the embedded solution. I mean, on the EIVP, the advantage, as you mentioned, Mark, that we are very close to the city of Paris. And we are lucky that the civil servants of the city of Paris are graduated from our school. So it would help us to go and to work with them on these issues, which is very, very important to embed this solution in urban planning issues. For example, we are involved, and we are going to be involved. You know, we change our change. It's a continuum. Miss Hidalgo, who is from Barcelona, and Hidalgo was re-elected a few months ago. And the most important challenge for the city is to create a new master plan. It's going to be bioclimatic master plan. Why it's important? Because it's going to replace all these documents working for the city. You have a plan for biodiversity, you have a plan for energy, you have a plan for urban planning, you have another one for something else, and now to integrate them in one common document. And this is, I think, the role of researcher and people working in the higher education field. It's very important to see, to exchange about these issues and to avoid contradictions between, for example, sometimes the concept of resilience and the concept of sustainability. Sometimes we say sustainability, you don't need a lot of means. Resilience, you have to be rich to be resilient. So this discussion is very important, and our elected people are asked for that. And they want to know what to do. So the role of the master degree, like the one proposed by Lorenzo, or what we are doing as an engineering school, or the research done by LENEC or by the EIVP, and also trying to involve cities in EU projects. I mean, the 2020 is very important. You know, I am always disappointed that we don't have a French city in this project, but it was, as you know, Marc, it was very hard from the beginning to motivate people from France, from cities to come to a project. So action like H2020, and now I think for me, because I'm very highly involved in this urban innovation action, is very important also to encourage this work between cities and people from education, research or not.
Okay, thank you, Youssef. Well, before moving to the next question, I would like to remind the audience that you can send us questions through the Q&A tab that you can find in the Meet Maps platform. I've been told that depending on the moment on which you connected to the platform, maybe you do not see that tab. In case you don't, you just hit refresh to the page and you reconnect again, and then you will have the tab to send your questions. Okay, please do send your questions that you have, as I said before. If they are directed at someone from the panel, please let us know so we can direct them to them. Okay, so moving on to the next question, I would like to ask something pretty specific to Rita, because besides the several barriers and well, the summary that she did about the whole situation, I would like to mention that she has been involved in the development of the resilience action plans for the rescue project, the RAPs we call them, and this was actually one of the outcomes of the project, and something very interesting. And so Rita, could you please explain us why should a city implement a resilience action plan, and what is a resilience action plan, and how can we benefit from that?
Okay, so the resilience action plan is something that integrates all the activities and all the decisions that you have made through your path for resilience. So it synthesizes the collaboration of the people doing the people that get the data, the ones that do the modeling, the ones that do the assessment. Then someone selects some strategies to implement. What are the benefits of those strategies? So you need to have a document when all of these arguments articulate and make sense, and you have a clear path from where you stand now, where you want to be tomorrow, and how you are going to do it, and what you need to do it. So the resources that you need to affect to this project. So I think that this is a document that is congregating all of the arguments that the several people involved have, and how they sometimes they collide, and you have to take an option, and that is all clear in this document. So I would say that the resilience action plan is an instrument that you use for planning, and later on you must use for the revision that you make of your decisions. So as I said before, you have a plan for what you know now. In a couple of years, you need to revise on the upcoming news that you have on the topic. So it's an instrument where it is clear for everybody what you are dealing with, and what the decisions were, and what you expect to get from those decisions, and also what had to be left behind, because you could not make everything at the same time. So I would advise people to check what we did with the resilience action plans in rescue, and try to implement it.
Okay, thank you very much, Rita. So I have another question for Ares, because, well, obviously the municipalities, the city councils themselves are probably the key actor in terms of resilience implementation. I mean, all the other actors, so private service operators, public service operators, researchers, SMEs, we are also flying around all these, but definitely the key implementator of resilience are the city councils. So, Ares, how can urban resilience be promoted inside a municipality, and in particular a complex municipality like Barcelona, where you have many different areas? And well, we always know that resilience sometimes it's I think that Ángel said it before, that resilience is a very big concept. No, sometimes people think about it in terms of civil protection. Sometimes they think about it in terms of services. Sometimes in terms of sustainability. So how can resilience be managed in a municipality, within the municipality?
Yeah, well, you actually, in your introduction and the question itself, you have hinted already the solution, and it's with stakeholder, continuing enhancing stakeholder engagement. We need everybody to collaborate, not just the city council with the municipal competencies that we have, and all the areas that are within the organizations, but also engaging the private companies, research centers as well, because we do need also to try to anticipate risk, and we need to do some prognosis and to learn about what the current challenges. We already have identified them, but what the future is going to look like, not so much. So, and not only these actors, also the citizenship themselves, they can play a key role in implementing urban resilience. So I think this is one key aspect of resilience building and resilient projects implementation. And also another, I think, very important aspect, we always describe the resilience building process as a continuous improvement process, which begins with we manage risk, the risk that we have, but we also need to learn from this risk and from maybe future risk, and try to know better how we respond, what we are lacking of, what we should be doing, what areas of improvement we have, in order to implement these resilience action plans that Rita was already mentioning, no? So that we have an continuous improvement process, because we constantly need to review, because some risk we may have tackled, but then we will have new challenges. So I think also learning is an important aspect in order to promote resilience. And in this sense, now it's something, one of the main projects or action plans that we have in the department is also has to do with this transsectorial work that Lorenzo also mentioned in his speech, but also in improving the capacity analysis and what we can learn from how we manage risk and how we plan to manage also future risks. So I think this would be two very key aspects in order to promote resilience in locally.
Okay, thank you very much, Jares. So now I will go with another direct question to Ángel. In this case, during your brief presentation, you talk about the path that urban resilience took in Aquatech, in terms of that it started being researched, etc. So I would like to ask you, in an engineering company such as yours, how is the research and development, so R&D projects like RESCCUE, how do they get transferred to finally be part of your portfolio of engineering services? So how is this knowledge transfer process go, and is that something that is done often?
Well, perhaps it doesn't happen so often, but for us it's quite natural. And in fact, yes, it was a natural transition from research to engineering, to direct engineering. And there were concepts like, I don't know, the resilience assessment methodologies, the 2D models, damage evaluation, risk assessment, taking into account several vulnerabilities. I mean, all this knowledge was packaged and conceptualized to be delivered as a service, and yes, I think this is our stronger point here. But not to make, not only to make business, because yes, it's important to make business. It's important to deliver services and to grow, of course. We are a private company. We live from this, but it is also the opportunity to better accomplish the main role of other mother company, which is finally a water manager. It's a water company. So this knowledge help us to deliver better services and to be better at accomplishing our core role. And understand me, why not? It's also the opportunity to be useful to society. It's the opportunity to deliver the best, because we have some knowledge, we have a treasure, and we want to share it, because if we are really good in the things we do, the product will be better and the benefit will be better for society. I think this is a key point. And I also want to say that I agree with Rita and Youssef, who said that we have also the need to translate our solutions, which are quite theoretical, methodologies, complicated. We have to translate all this to the common language of the citizens and the politicians and the elected people, because in fact they are the key people for to apply all these measures. They have to agree with that. I mean, outside our academical or professional world, people have to understand and to agree upon the diagnosis, the risks, the needs, the strategies, and the solutions, because we can deliver knowledge, but it's up to them to apply it.
Okay, thank you very much, Ángel. We are almost finishing. We started a little bit late because there was some overlap with the previous sessions. So we'll take just 10 more minutes to do a couple questions from the audience and then to do the wrap up of the whole session. Okay, so I will take a question from the audience now that actually is for the whole panel. So any one of you who wants to jump in, please do so. It talks about the current situation with the health emergency that we are facing now, and of course we said before that the urgent and important issues, sometimes there is a little bit of an imbalance there. So the question specifically is, do you think that the consequences of the actual situation can change the agenda, commitment, and prioritization of the investments for our communities?
I'm going to be short. Yes. Yes, it's changing. Unfortunately, it's changing, and it's not changing in the right way. I can develop if you need, but maybe the other colleagues want to.
Youssef, but only for a short time, until the vaccine.
Okay. Anyone else would like to jump in? Because I think that the thing of course, when we talk about climate change policies, and it's always a tricky issue, because I mean, climate change is something that of course it develops throughout time, and these dynamics take quite some time, but pretty often the national, regional, or even local policies are done every 4 years. No, I mean, once the governments change, sometimes the policies change. So is there a way that we can, and not only with the COVID health emergency situation that we're facing now, but is there a way that we can ensure proper planning, and in particular with climate change and urban resilience? Is there a way to improve it, to do it in a better way, so we don't change course every few years?
Marc, if I may, I think that we can try to find something positive in this situation. And one thing I can picture is that people are more aware that we need to plan for something that we think might happen or not. So we need to expect the unexpected, and that is clear in everybody's mind. So maybe when this thing goes down with the COVID, maybe we can use that momentum to let people know that there are other things that for you may be unexpected, but we are already expecting it. So let's use that need to be prepared that everyone now acknowledges. So we need to be prepared for whatever comes. So if we try to shift the speech once again to climate change, I think that people are more aware that things that they think only happen to their neighbors might happen to them. So maybe that's seeing the glass half full, but maybe that's one positive thing we can take of this.
Well, actually, Rita, this is something that you mentioned before, because when you were talking about the implementation of strategies, you were talking about the robustness of these strategies, having them done in a win-win way, and also with co-benefits, which means that something that we are using for climate change adaptation also contributes to increase the urban resilience, and it also includes response capacity in case there is a health emergency. So we have to try to implement these kind of strategies that they are not only focusing at one specific hazard reduction, let's say, but they tend to, work in a more multidisciplinary way, which is this is something that has been mentioned quite a lot during these 2 days. Okay, I will. Sorry,
Marc, only 1 second,
yes.
Because Rita has turned on a small light on my head. I mean, at least the COVID, the virus, has showed that we are vulnerable. Yes, dramatically. So, and has showed that we must adapt to changes, any changes, because if not, we're lost. I mean, and this is the only positive side of the pandemic, of course. Yeah.
Yes, I think that this is the concept of residual risk, that in engineering it has often been discussed, because for many years people thought that a big wall could protect us from any flood or from any kind of event. And now I think that the paradigm has been changing for the last few years, that we have to live with this risk. We have to learn to be flooded. We have to learn to deal with the risks, that we are not invincible. And I think that this is something to keep in mind. Ares, you were shaking your head. You were saying no. You are muted. Sorry.
I was agreeing with
okay,
what you said. I wasn't saying no.
Okay, sorry.
Can I say something, Marc?
Sure, yes.
Some concepts are now, after since March, are discussed, like density, urban density. So something important to see, that we need time. We need to have to take our time to discuss this concept. Not to say density is not good, because we see that in the city, in the dense area, the COVID is very risk is very high. So we need to take this time to make decision. It's easy to say for me, because I'm doing research. I'm working as advisor. But for the political people, it's not easy to behave this way. So they are under pressure. They are using solution, and then maybe in 6 months, as it was said by Ángel, that in 6 months, in 1 year, we have the vaccine, and these solutions are not reliable, are not sustainable, and you have to go back again to another old model. So these discussions are very important for the coming period, about this concept of density of public transport. What public transport is it? For me, it's very important in city. Now we are talking about replacing public transport by soft mobility. It's impossible to be considered like this in 2 months, 3 months. Need more to take more time to talk about this.
Yeah, if I may, I agree with what you just said. It's what I was trying to say also in my initial intervention, that we shouldn't get carried away with the immediacy in order to take long-term decisions that will compromise the future of our cities. And public transportation is a clear example. Now, mass transportations are with the COVID, in order to contain the spread of the disease, are at some compromise, but it's a key element for any city. Without a public transportation system, cities become chaos. So we must protect it more than ever. I mean, and some may be tempted to say, well, it's not viable because it's not economically sustainable. But what is not sustainable is not to have this transport system in the future. So yeah, I think, of course, we must respond. We must be reactive to what is happening, but we must not compromise and take decisions that compromise the long term and the shape of our cities for a longer or wider term, because they may be irreversible and put us in a worse situation in order to face other sorts of risks that can hit.
Okay. Well, unfortunately, we're running out of time. There are a few more questions from the audience, and I also wanted to raise a few more issues, but well, I don't really want to take more time from you and from the rest of the attendees. So just to close the roundtable, I will make a quick question, which is one word per panelist. Okay, which is what is urban resilience to you? So we can start with Ángel, for example. You are muted, Ángel. Sorry.
Yes, I don't know. Urban resilience is all. It's holistic. So urban resilience are all aspects of the city life.
Okay. That was not one word, Ángel, but it's okay.
No, sorry. Holistic. The word is holistic.
Perfect. So now let's move to Lorenzo.
Well, then one word is adaptation. What it means to me is just coordinating adaptations. That's the issue to me. And doing into alignment to sustainability. That's it. Perfect.
Also a few words, but okay, Rita.
I have one word for you. I think it's collaboration.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much. Ares?
It's everything you said, and also I think is being ready, be ready for whatever. Yeah.
Readiness.
Perfect. Preparedness, readiness. Yes. And Youssef?
Understanding system, which means systemic.
Systemic. Very good. Okay, so as I said, there are a few more questions from the audience, but unfortunately there is no more time for that. So, well, as you may have seen, the platform, the Meetmaps platform, has a chat option, and this chat also sends emails directly to the attendees. So if you have any questions directly to someone, please use the chat and try to even though we are at home, let's try to keep the synergies and discussions. So please use the tools that we have at hand to keep discussing about urban resilience. Thank you very much. Now I will give the floor to Esteban León, that he was silent this whole time because he was preparing the wrap up, the closing words of the conference, and with this the URCC conference will be closed. So thank you very much, and Esteban, the floor is yours now.
Thank you, Marc. Yeah, I was silent, but I was biting my tongue not to talk. You asked really interesting questions, and the panel was quite strong, I would say. I will try to attempt to give a kind of summary or wrap up of these 2 very intensive days and this very interesting panel, because I think that you all raised quite important issues. If I have to try to summarize, I would say one key issue that of course came up is that urban resilience is key for the future of cities. I think that nobody denied that. That's something that came up everywhere. The other part that it's important is that any urban resilience effort must be multi-stakeholder. We must involve everyone. We cannot build resilience from one side only. So that came also strong in all the panels and in all the discussions. The third one, of course, is that it has to be multi-sectoral, basically, that it has to engage all the sectors. While I say that, I would say that the last 2 days were very much focused on water, which is one of the key sectors. But as I said, it's one of the key and very important sector. Without water, we have no life. And yesterday somebody put it quite interesting, saying that potentially the next war will be over water. So I think that that's something that we should consider. The other part that came quite strongly is that holistic approach to urban resilience. We have to think further than the narrow view. And I will say the other part that was very interesting from this panel specifically is that two of you spoke about models and modeling. And I think that it's very interesting because that's something that we tried to produce many years, and we were discussing about that for years now. The other part that also two of you brought up is the uncertainty of life, that you can plan and prepare for something, but something else happened as the COVID happened. And then Ángel raised something about the climate change and that it's forever. So I will say it's been quite interesting. I have something more to add, which is we already discussed the multi-sectoral and multi-stakeholders approach, but probably because this was very much focused on climate change, the discussion was very centric on climate change. But I will add the multi-hazard approach, because also in this panel something came up, and is potentially Marc's question. How do you see COVID, and how do we respond or react to this current crisis? Yesterday, it's true, one of the discussions was centered into how urgent things take part of the important ones. And I do think that COVID is something that is taking part or calling too much attention at the moment, and is displacing in a way climate change issues. Having said that, COVID is important, and it's going to stay here for a while. I do think that the economic part is going to last, and I think that we are just starting from that process. This year the crisis was health. Next year the crisis will be still health plus socioeconomic areas. We are going to start feeling the pressure of the lack of economic and financial activities. That's for sure. The other part that I want to emphasize is you talk quite a lot about risk reduction and about risk management, and it's funny because I was thinking, well, risk reduction is successful when nothing happens, right? So it's not very easy to show. And the same with urban resilience. When you plan better, when you work well, and when you don't have any events, catastrophic events or any crisis, you don't see, and you don't see that it has been a work that took quite a long time. So I will agree with Ares in that it's something that it's a bit invisible. It has to be mainstream all over the place, but it has little merit in the eyes of the media and in the eyes of the urgent kind of lights. Finally, I would like to emphasize the fact that trying to respond to the one word from Marc, but taking advantage that I can talk more. My one word or concept will be due diligence. It's a concept that it's, if you are going to do something, do it well, because if you do it bad, you are going to regret later. If you buy something cheap, you are going to have to buy that cheap thing twice, right? So resilience is considering that whatever you do it in a way that you plan for future and make sure that it's resilient, it's waterproof. So I will say due diligence is the main message here if you want to plan and create. And finally, I would like to emphasize that Rita says something very important, which is it's also about data and information, but it's not about having any kind of data. You have to know what data you are looking for, and you have to be strict in that, in making sure that your data inform your decisions. And the part that I like most was the part of saying urban resilience is a concept. It's not. Urban resilience concept has to be implementable. And that's when the RAPs from rescue camps kicks in. I mean, the recommendations for action plans have to be recommendations for action, and that action has to happen at the city level. So while we discuss this at the academic level and it's very conceptual, we have to make sure that that concept lands into the city level. That's the important part, that because that's where you are going to see the change and improve the quality of life of citizens. And you will start looking at the differences. And I think that that's more or less a summary of the 2 days discussion. I think it was very rich. I really enjoyed some of the sessions, some of the panels and participants. They came with different approaches, and I have to thank Aquatech for a brilliant job and for a really good partnership during the last 4 years. It was fantastic. I have to thank Setacua. I have to thank Barcelona City Council. How not? Barcelona City Council is hosting us, and it's always there raising the flag of urban resilience. We thank you for that, Aries, Emmanuel, and all the City Council. I have to, well, I can't go through the whole list, but all the rest of the rescue partners. I think that all of you have done this possible. And I think that if we can be proud of something, is that we tried our best to raise the flag, to build resilience, and to improve the quality of life of citizens. And let's not forget planet. I think that we have to start working on that as well. Thank you very much, and thanks for everything.
Thank you very much, Esteban. Just to close, also, I would like to extend the thanks to UN Habitat as well. Thank you for helping us organizing the conference. And obviously, thanks to all of you who have helped us by chairing sessions, moderating them, all the attendees, the scientific committee who also did a great job by selecting all the presentations and speakers that we have seen during these 2 days. So thank you very much to all of you who made it possible. Remember that as I said yesterday, this is only the beginning. We will try to keep advancing with this. We are closing the rescue project, but well, the idea is that the URCC conference, we only want it to be a first step in all these, a catalyzer, let's say. So during the next few days, we will keep on updating the website. Soon you will be able to download the presentations once we get consent from all of them, the presentations, the videos. We will also publish a book of abstracts and a special issue with some of the key papers that we have selected also. So please stay tuned to the URCC website, because there will be news coming. We don't want it to be a dead website that we just close it and no one ever checks it. So we will get more content in there. So please stay tuned and hope to see you very soon. Thank you very much, and see you soon. Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Marc.